What's going on, Ambitious Vets? Welcome to episode number 18 of the Ambitious Vet Show with U.S. Army veteran and Vetpreneur Tribe founder, Andrew O'Brien. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine combat veteran turned passion-driven entrepreneur. Now we're here to dive into the trenches with today's top-performing military veterans that were once warrior-made but are now passion-driven. Now as they share their stories, their failures, and their journey of what it took, we just hope that this unlocks your secret formula to living a more impactful, meaningful, and top-performing civilian life. All right, Ambitious Vets. So are you a vet that's getting out of the uniform and you're getting met with big adversity? I mean, a lot of the veterans that I talk to a lot on a daily basis now, either face-to-face or on social media, is they're describing that they're feeling like Superman when they get out, but they find out very quickly that they're Clark Kent, right? I definitely could relate to that 5.5 years ago when I got out of the uniform. But how do we get back to feeling like we're Superman? How do we get out with a big vision, get met with adversity, but endure that process? Well, guys, I want you to come to Veteran Empowerment Transition Tribe, where we are really creating a new breed of transitioning veteran, one that is resourceful, one is self-aware, high-level executor, and one that is passion-driven. We really believe with those ways of valuing life that you will really be able to get out there, live that impactful, fulfilling, and top-performing life. Guys, we have over 545 ambitious vets inside that tribe right now. We do 2 weekly lives. Inside that tribe right now, I go in and do a live content of a passion-driven tip every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. And then also every Thursday, I come in and bring one of the top-performing, top-performing military veterans inside the tribe, and I interview them live, where people like you can get live engagement with them, connect with them, and ultimately create more opportunity for your life. So guys, again, that's Veteran Empowerment Transition Tribe. You guys can meet the guests, connect with other ambitious vets, get resources, and always get that content that's going to help narrow time frames from you getting out there and creating a brand that impacts. We'll see you there. All right, so before we go ahead and introduce the guest, guys, I just want to take 100% responsibility. That's been 3 weeks since we released a podcast episode, primarily because over here, a team and I have been in the trenches launching an ebook, completely organic and really bootstrapping it. And we built a team around it and went bestseller on Amazon. It's called 10 Steps to Predict Success Out of the Uniform. Some of you guys that are listening to my voice right now have already picked it up, already read it. For those of you guys, thank you very much. I'm getting a lot of feedback. So guys, if you haven't gone out and picked up your ebook, that Kindle version of 10 Steps to Predict Success Out of the Uniform, I definitely charge you to go do that. We got tons of great feedback from it. One in particular was from Stephen Kuhn that said this is a must read for any ambitious veteran that's looking to make it happen out of the uniform. So guys, if it's good enough for one of the most influential military veterans out of the uniform, I think it's good enough for you guys. So go ahead and pick that up on Amazon, 10 Steps to Predict Success Out of the Uniform. And I look forward to hearing some feedback from you. All right, so let's go ahead and introduce Andrew O'Brien. Now, Andrew went from dealing with some of the most intense adversity someone can handle, like prostitution, war, suicide, and murder, to go into the business for himself. Now, he built a successful publicity company from 0 to 7 figures in just 12 months. Now, after realizing that the money wasn't creating happiness for him, he actually decided to build and create one of the largest military veteran groups in pretty much the world right now, which is Vetpreneur Tribe, with over 14,000 military veterans that were networking, sharing resources, and it's literally one of the most engaging veteran entrepreneur groups that in the world, pretty much anything I've ever seen. This guy is one of the most polarizing people that I've ever met in my life, but also one of the sharpest. And he's a guy that personally mentors me. I'm a part of his mastermind called the Warrior Council. And actually, when we did this live inside the tribe, he sold over $1,000 worth of membership inside of his mastermind. This is how polarizing and content heavy this guy is. So guys, in this episode, take some notes, pull out a pen and paper. He talks about the advantage of building a huge brand by getting really polarizing. The difference between entitled vets and gritty vets. What's the difference between you and millionaires? And also how free content and why you don't get results from it, right? So guys, this guy is a content creator, always creating stuff. And he's just a guy that when he talks, you listen and you take notes. So guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and just dive into the trenches with Andrew Brien. Let's get it. Andrew, you there?
I'm here.
Come on, brother. Welcome to Ambitious Vet.
Thanks for having me on, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, brother, I just want to kind of dive in, man. Fill the cracks, say whatever you want to say to kind of just tell them a little bit more about you and outside of this movement that you're creating. Have them get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, so what I'll do, how about I do like a 2-minute overview of my life, and then we can just dive in wherever you want to. Sound good?
100%.
Okay, so I was born into war. It is how I love to say things, right? I'm a warrior, and I was a warrior much long before I even served in the military. And the reason I say that is because I was born mid-cities, Dallas-Fort Worth area. I was born to a prostitute mother. My father was in the Army, didn't know him much as a kid. But with this prostitute mother, I witnessed a lot of sexual transactions as a child. We lived in motel rooms, trailer parks, cars, apartments, houses, moved every 3 to 6 months, had about 20 daddies throughout my life. Actually physically watched my mom have sex with men for money from the age 5 and up. And so it was a really rough upbringing starting out. And so I did what the majority of us do, right? If you're listening to this, you probably did it too. We joined the military, right? If you think about it, most people don't join the military just for patriotic reasons. It's because something went wrong and they're getting away from whatever went wrong, right? So I escaped my childhood, escaped that lifestyle, joined the Army, served my 4 years like Chris was saying. I was in the Army operator, but I did a year-long deployment from 2008 to 2009. Served as a lead gunner during my deployment. So I was a lead gunner of all convoys. Loved it. Best job I ever had in my life. Most purpose-filled, I had mission, I had purpose, I had family. I had everything I'd ever craved since I was a kid. The military gave it to me. And then I got home from Iraq. 12 months later, I tried to kill myself. It took over 120 pills in less than 3 minutes. I did it for a combination of things. It was not because of war. It was a combination of my childhood coming back to me, plus the transition from combat to garrison, right? In combat, I had a mission, I had a purpose, I had a reason to live. In garrison, my job was to do police calls and clean trucks. So it was a huge transition to go from 50 caliber machine gunner to picking up cigarette butts off the ground. So it was a hard transition, attempted suicide. Luckily woke up 2 days later in the ICU at Tripler Army Medical Center in Hawaii. And a year later, I got out of the military. Normal ETS state, didn't med board. They just kind of swept it under the rug. Got out, tried to figure out what was next for me. Did a bunch of jobs, moved a bunch of places, trying to figure out where I fit in the civilian world. And then my mom murdered her husband, shot him point blank in the head while he was sleeping. I came home to take care of her. I didn't know she did it. And I was cleaning up his remains out of the carpet when she pulled me outside and asked me to help frame his ex-wife for the murder. Long story short, 3 years later in 2014, I testified against my mother in court where she was sentenced to 60 years in prison, found guilty for manslaughter. So that's the gist of the hurdles that I've gone through.
Wow. That is a lot, man. That is wow. It's as heavy as you make it, man. But would you say that is what has had you become as driven as you are?
It is. It's the reason that I am successful today. The reason I've gone as far as I have, and the reason I'm going to continue to go even further is all because of my past.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's funny, man. I was motor T when I served in the Marine Corps for 4 years. That's crazy. If you can't truck it, fuck it, man.
That's it.
Yeah. And that's awesome, man. So, I just want to kind of dive in. I know that was probably hard, like really dealing with having to testify against your mother, man, because I'm a mother's boy. I'm from the Midwest. And I know how hard that could probably be on a son, so I definitely acknowledge your courage and your strength to stand for your values and what you stand for in your life.
And that's one thing that I appreciate about you, man. And that's why I'm a part of your Warrior Council and your mastermind, which we'll dive into, is because I just really believe in who you are, what you stand for. And you're not afraid to say what's really on your mind and be real. Too many people are afraid to be real today, and say what needs to be said. So thanks for that, man. So I want to dive more into your transitional story, man. Like, tell me more about that and how you starting to find like your individuality and start finding your passion.
Well, I can tell you when I got out, I had no plan, right? All I knew was I wanted to get out of the military. The leadership I had during deployment, PCS, by the time we got back, it was their second deployment. So they got stop lost to go on that deployment. And so they came back, they transitioned out. I got a whole new leadership who came in. So I got out, right? I just wanted to be out. I didn't want the bureaucracy anymore. I got out and I didn't know what I was going to do, right? I was so confused. I was lost. I kind of felt like that 18-year-old kid who left home for the first time, right? I have freedom. No one telling me when I can do what and what kind of facial hair I can grow. And so for the 3 months after I got out, I started going to DeVry University because, I mean, it's what we do, right? When we get out of the military, it's like, well, I'll just go to college because at least I get paid for it. So we go to college more like a job than we do for like, because we want to learn. It's just a stable paycheck, right? So I went to DeVry, did a semester and a half there, and then I had to choose between St. Patrick's Day in college. And so I chose St. Patrick's Day and never went back to college after that. But I drank a lot. I lived by the pool, drinking nonstop. It turned into like, I looked like tree bark. Like I was dark, man. I had like the shakes from alcohol. I just, I partied. I enjoyed my freedom. And then after a couple months of doing that, I realized I was exhausted. I was tired. I didn't know what to do next. So I started a business, and this business was called Mobile Errands, right? And my job was to run errands for people, kind of like Uber Eats, TaskRabbit, like things like that exist now. Like if I would have turned that into an app in 2011, I'd be fucking rich by now. But I just had my, Ford Explorer 2000 model, and I bought from a mom and pop dealership with owner finance, and I started Mobile Errands, and I did that for a little while, made $15 an hour, because the best paying job I could find was $12 an hour as an 88 Mike who got out of the military, right? I didn't want to get out and drive trucks or drive school buses. And so I had to figure out what was next. So I did that. And it sucked, man. I just took care of rich people and I hated it. And so I spent the next couple of years, man, I moved probably every 6 months for the next couple of years. I lived on horse ranches in RVs. I moved to Chicago with my best friend from the Army, like my battle buddy. I moved in with him and his wife, and I started looking at going to school there. And then the whole murder thing happened, so I went back to Texas. But it was a lot of transitioning. I was so confused because I didn't know where I fit in anymore. Right? Once you have that feeling of mission and purpose, like it's like a drug. You wanted that feeling again, and I couldn't find it. So I went through a lot of jobs to figure it out. And then 2013 happened, and I came home, watched the news one day, and I heard the number 22, right? This was the first time 22 came out, and it was in 2013. And it was the first time that I felt like I wasn't alone in my suicide attempt because I tried to hide it from most people. I saw the news, and I was like, there's 22 other veterans going through what I'm going through right now. I'm going to go public, and I'm going to tell my story. I pulled up my computer in a dark kitchen, like worse lighting than this, and did a video on YouTube, sent it to the local news stations, and spent the next 3 years traveling the world, becoming the most requested speaker by the United States military, receiving over 20 awards for my work, and featured on over 70 global media outlets.
That's incredible, man. And it's funny how whenever you're just going through the day to day, just trying to, figure it out, how opportunities can kind of just come, man. And I'm sure you probably learned a lot through living on those ranches, traveling across the globe, going through the dumps and dealing with that murder situation. I mean, what was the biggest thing that you learned in that situation? Because it sounds like it was one of the darker moments of your life. Like, what had you have that aha moment to just really jump and go for that going to speaking? Because I know you've spoken all over the globe for veterans. I know you got a huge heart for them. So what was the aha moment and that had you jump?
Yeah, so this is going to come off egotistical, and that's okay. All right. So people that know me know I don't have a huge ego, but we all have egos, right? Yep. It's human nature. So here's the deal. What I realized was I was trying to live a mediocre life, and life wasn't allowing me to, right? There is no such thing as mediocre in my life. Murder, suicide, war, and prostitution. Like, mediocre has never been possible in my life. And what I did was, my way of trying to escape all that excitement of the bad things that were happening was try to act like everything was normal. When I stopped pretending like my life was mediocre, because it never has been, I've never experienced a mediocre part of my life. And I honed in on that. I just realized it snapped for me. I was like, I just testified in court against my mother for murder. I've been through all this stuff. Why am I working a $12 an hour job? Like, why? Where am I going right now? Where am I heading? And what I realized more than anything, after everything I've experienced, right? I had more friends that were shot as a teenager than I did in Iraq. So I've seen a lot of stuff. And what I realized was life is short, man. And it's been hell for me. Like, it has been nonstop hell. So if I have to deal with this hell, if I have to go through these motions of having to survive this hell, I'm going to fight as hard as I can. And I'm going to live like I'm going to die tomorrow. And that's how I live my life every day. And a lot of people say that, and it's not true. Yeah. But like right now, I'm traveling around the country in an RV, living with my family I'm a homeless entrepreneur, right? We get to travel wherever we want to go, do whatever we want to do. And I do that because I can die in a car accident tomorrow. And I want to be on that deathbed knowing that I did everything that I could to live my life to its fullest potential.
That's good. That's good, man. And it really is, man. I really relate to you. And I think that's why I'm closely, with you, and I'm in your counsel and stuff like that, because I really relate to your story. I mean, I was raised on a broken home, and I joined the Marine Corps to primarily discover what it took to be a man, because I never had a true example of what it took to be a man. So the qualities and the idea of being a Marine was just like, okay, this is what a warrior is supposed to be. And if I can learn how to be a successful Marine, then I can, hopefully be able to hold my own in the world. And, it sounds like even in the darkest moments, man, there can be a light at the end of the tunnel. And it sounds like for you, man, that's what it was. It's like you became a fighter. And that's what I loved about your interview with Grant Cardone the other day, is you're just like, look, man, I'm just a fucking fighter, man. I've been through the ringer. And it just got to the moment where I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to fight for it. Who cares about the polarization of my personality that people hate on me, don't like me? That's what has me stand out and be different. There's not enough people that are willing to share this authentically, this transparent. And this is why people connect with you, man. And for anybody out there that's watching this live, any ambitious vet that's like in the uniform thinking about getting out, or even just in the process of the first couple months figuring out what is next, is hear this. Figure out this is personal branding at its best. He has a story that resonates, and he actually is very good at providing consistent value out in the world that has people see him as a valuable human being. And that's you're doing incredible, man. So, brother, I want you to share, you've shared a lot of them, but what was your biggest failure getting out of the uniform, and kind of what did you learn from it?
My biggest failure was actually my publicity company. So you said 0 to 8, but it was actually 0 to 7 figures in 12 months. 8 would have been awesome, though.
No, I don't know why. Yep. Sorry about that.
But, so it was 0 to 7 figures in 12 months. And what I did was I chased money, right? Because I grew up broke my entire life. So money has always been important to me. Here's the deal. Anyone who says they don't care about materialistic things is a fucking liar. Okay, because if you had the money to go buy a private jet, you would go buy a private jet, so you never had to walk through airport security again. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you care about the world. When you have who cares money to do stuff with, you're going to enjoy it, right? So I was broke my entire life, and so money has always been a key motivator for me, right? It's always been like chasing that money, going after things. I started businesses while I was in the Army. Like I chased this entrepreneur dream since I've been 8, 9 years old. It's just, I've always had this feeling deep in my gut, like I was meant to do something big, right? But I chased money, and that was my biggest mistake, was chasing money. Because yeah, I built a 7-figure company in 12 months, but it was the worst company I've ever built, right? I had the worst team members. I had the worst clients. I had the worst nightmares. Like, I had more PTSD from my publicity company than I had from Iraq. Right? Like, it was a pain in the ass. And I woke up every day scared to look at my phone because it'd be another complaint. It'd be another issue. There'd be an employee quitting last minute without telling me anything. Like, everything, literally, if something could go wrong every day, it would. And it got to the point that I have 3 kids and I'm a husband, right? And with how we were raised, Chris, as a man, we both know being a father is the most important thing we could ever do in our life, right? I have a son. I didn't have a father growing up. My job is to make sure my son has a father figure growing up. And so I come home mad every day, man, just yelling at my kids. I emotionally abused my wife. And I will say that live on video, I did. I never physically abused her, but I emotionally abused the shit out of her. I treated her worse than a dog. Like, I just put her down to the worst levels. And it wasn't her fault, right? Like, I'm lucky that she's still with me today with the way that I treated her. She forgave me. But guys, like, I did all that in exchange for money. I became this monster just so I could keep having watching the money in my bank account. And then I quickly realized that, yes, the money is great, but man, I'm a miserable person. Like, I'm just not happy. And that's actually a big reason that I shut down publicity company, like, in a snap of a finger, and focus on Vetpreneur Tribe. I literally gave away over $100,000 a month, shut it down, and focus on the tribe, which is now, like 8 months later, making $20,000 to $30,000 a month. So I'm still not where I was. It's a different lifestyle, but I'm a lot happier of a person. So my biggest mistake, to sum it all up, was chasing money instead of passion.
That's good. Chasing. We got a saying inside this show, man. It says golden grenades, man. That was a golden grenade. So thanks for dropping that in, man. Chasing passion versus money, which is, I'm sure you're probably way more fulfilled in this moment then, right?
Oh, yeah.
100%. And this guy is dropping new products and services like on a daily or weekly basis as well. So that's what I want to kind of dive in right now. For any ambitious vet or veterans that are looking to get into entrepreneurship, stuff like that, tell us a little bit about your vision and what you're creating here at the Vetpreneur Tribe, that community that you're doing. What's your vision for that?
Yeah. So what I realized, right, and Chris and I have had this conversation, you and I have had this conversation, is that there's this thing that's going on in the veteran world right now. There's 2 sides to it, right? So the civilians, and before anyone says anything, I don't hate civilians, okay? I'm a big supporter of civilians. I love civilians. But here's the deal. Right now, roles are reversing in the world. And let's be honest, more guys are wearing skinny jeans and growing ponytails, and then girls are wearing loose pants. Like, roles are kind of reversing in the world right now. And a big role that I'm seeing reverse is the veteran and civilian role. Right now, it seems as though civilians are the protectors of veterans. And it doesn't feel right for me. Like, it doesn't feel, that is not where it's supposed to be, right? Even if we're out of the service, veterans are the protector of civilians. That's how it's been forever. And now it seems like they're acting like they have to protect us from the VA, protect us from suicide, protect us from all these things, right? Protect us from mental issues. Like, they talk about how fucking crazy we are all the time, right? And I used to get mad at the civilian world, and I used to think that the civilian world is making us look bad. And then I met veterans, and I realized, no, it's not the civilian world. It's some of these veterans, man. They're going around acting like the world owes them some shit that no one owes them anything. Right. I will say that I think the people that are owed something are the Vietnam era, who were drafted to a war they didn't choose to go to. That makes sense to me. I think they're entitled to stuff. But if you went to MEPS, if you went and did the ASVAB, went to MEPS, and if you signed that contract completely volunteering your life, no one owes you a handout for anything. That was your choice, right? That's your decision. You wouldn't do the same for a cop. A cop doesn't deserve free shit just because they decided to be a cop. It's the same for veterans. I think you deserve an appreciation, but I don't think you deserve free shit the rest of your life because you invested 4 to 20 years into the country, right? And you're the last person who needs that handout because you're too strong for it. But with that being said, the reason I built the tribe is I'm trying to build a world-leading community, right? Not just a lot of veterans in a place. We don't talk about PTSD. We don't talk about emotions and feelings. We talk about business, right? We talk about growing and scaling empires and creating legacies, because my goal is to reverse the roles back where they belong. Show the civilian world how strong we truly are. It's not their fault they think this. It's all they hear about. So let's build these empires and show the civilian world what we're capable of. And let's get louder than those freaking entitled veterans going around acting like the world owes them something, because that's what's loud right now. Mental issues and entitled veterans, instead of those actual warriors who are, digging in deep and building those empires.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's one of the biggest slogans that you have for what you're doing is dominating the new battleground, because that's really what it is one of the key things that I read in a report recently is that, a lot of veterans are getting out into the civilian world where civilians forgot about them. We're trying to catch up into a world that kind of forgot about us. We're kind of just reintegrating into that world. And I am a big believer, and even I speak into our tribe with the Ambitious Vet Tribe, is that we operate on a different frequency, man. We're more energetic, we're more effective, and we're more direct and deliberate in our communication and our actions. And I think a lot of us conform out of the uniform, and that's what allows us to really kill off. And in the military, if you conformed, you died. If you conformed, your team died around you. And that's no different out of the uniform, man. Is like you're going to kill off not only what's possible out of your life, but all the skill sets and the mental strength that you built up in the military. If you conform, you're going backwards versus forward. And that's what I love about what you're doing with the Warrior Council, which is Andrew's actually it's his core mastermind group, which is just amazing, man. I want you to kind of talk about what you're doing with the Warrior Council, because it's helping out tons of veteran entrepreneurs.
The Warrior Council I created, the main reason behind it is I wanted to create. I've been in a lot of masterminds. All right. So mastermind, if you don't know, Napoleon Hill wrote the book about masterminds. And so it's definitely a good read. What is the actual book called? Do you know?
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
By Napoleon Hill. All right. Yep. So that's a great book. You should read it if you haven't. Here's the deal. What I realized is masterminds are great. I built my publicity company out of masterminds. I learned a lot from masterminds. It's bringing top thinkers in different industries, different entrepreneurs all together in one place to help each other build through constructive criticism, through ideas. Because the problem is, as entrepreneurs, we think crazy, right? We have open minds, but the problem is sometimes we get those blinders on and we don't think outside that box. Mm-hmm. We've got a big box, but sometimes we need the outside view. So I created the Warrior Council to be an online mastermind just for military veteran entrepreneurs, civilians allowed, because I wanted them to be a safe place for them where they can say what they want, curse as much as they want, talk the way they want. People get offended, they can leave and stop paying me. Like, I don't give a shit. It's more about a place where they can all come together, build businesses together, and create that camaraderie. Because I can tell you, the only thing I miss out of the military is the camaraderie. And so I wanted to recreate that in the business atmosphere. So that's why I did the Warrior Council.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. People buy why you do things, guys, versus how you do it. And this man's got a huge story and a huge why. And it's really helping a lot of veterans grow their brand. I mean, just what I've learned from you in the past 6 months of being part of the council is amazing, man. Not only did I launch a podcast in record time, but it's growing very quickly. And my audience, my personal brand's going quickly just based on your core message and what you're able to create. So guys, that's mainly why in this course that I'm launching May 7th with the 180 ambitious days to profiting from your number one passion. So you guys are done with the 6 months. You guys are going right into the Warrior Council for a free month. So you can actually get the taste of what he's actually creating and get around mindsets that outthink you, man. That was the biggest thing I learned out of the Marine Corps, man, is actually humbling myself. I went to a breaking point like you in 2013 where I was trying to commit suicide, went on a Daniel fast, got super spiritual, and just got into this, got into Christianity and stuff like that, and reinvented myself. And I lowered my pride, and I actually started investing in myself, around people that outthink me. And that's exactly what the Warrior Council does, man. You got people that are just trying to get businesses going, just trying to get the traction going. You got people that are actually making, have made $1 million in business. So it's every level, and they're all veterans that are just there to serve and help other veterans be successful. And that's what I love about what you're creating, brother. So,
well, and the thing is, so you got this 180-day program, right? The thing is guys, if you're watching this right now, I will tell you in the Warrior Council, we got people who started a business 2 days ago to Keith Landskov, who is making his way to 8 figures this year, 9 figures. I think he's already in 8 figures. He's trying to make his way to 9 figures, right? So we've got, the biggest thing I want you to understand is a lot of you think this isn't realistic, all right? A lot of you think that the success that you see online isn't real. Like if you watch Grant Cardone and see him in his private jet, you just think, oh, that's, I'll never be there. Why? There's only one difference between you and Grant Cardone. You're probably going to live longer, right? So what that means is, why would you not go do that? Because you're skeptic? Because here's the thing, veterans are very skeptic on everything. And if you take these 180 days with Chris, what's the worst that could happen, right? There's literally no downside of this. The worst that can happen is you don't do what Chris says and you stay exactly where you are. The worst that can happen is not that you go backwards, because that's not going to happen. So the biggest thing here, and what Chris, with what you were just saying, guys, I've built some successful companies. I became an influencer in 3 different industries. First, I became an influencer in the suicide prevention side of the military, right? I told you I was on over 70 global media outlets. I was on, I got 20 awards, including an award from the House of Representatives, a congressional special recognition from the House of Representatives. I traveled the world. I got paid $25,000 for one speaking engagement, which was in Okinawa, Japan, right? Which is not a horrible place to go get paid to speak at. And then I also got added onto the board of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I spoke at the White House and the Pentagon because I was a leader in my niche, right? So I got to experience a lot just in my speaking career, right? I became an influencer in that one. What made me different? Nothing. The only thing that made me different is I was loud and everybody else was quiet, right? And then let's look at the publicity side. I became an influencer there. I became one of the top publicists in the entrepreneur space quickly, right? Within a year, built a huge company. And then let's look at the veteran space. I'm becoming an influencer in there. And why? The reason I've been all this success is because I have the same exact experience that you do, right? I use that experience that you have to build it. So I'm going to tell you right now, the one way to become as successful as I have, or further, even more successful than I have, is you got to focus on you, man. You got to focus on your personal development, on growing yourself, because if you don't grow yourself, your business will never grow.
Preach, man. And that's exactly what we're doing at Vet Training Coaching, is we're creating the resourcefulness and the self-awareness to allow veterans to become top performers, because they can't start a successful business unless they know how to create a successful personal brand. Plain and simple, man. So yeah, you've done great in both, man. Before I go ahead and let you go, one, tell them where they can find you, man, how they can follow you, get involved with the Vetpreneur Tribe, and even I'll post the link below in the comments below around the Warrior Council and have you guys can get more information around that. But brother, tell them how they can find you. And also I want you to drop in 3 golden grenades that can impact an ambitious vet's life right now and creating increase in their life.
Okay, so to find us, just go to facebook.com/groups/vetpreneur. And that's the best way. I don't need your email. I'm not going to sell you anything. Just come join the tribe. Now, if you join the tribe, answer the questions, because I can't add you unless you answer the questions, because we don't allow civilians into the group. If you're a civilian watching this, it's not because we don't like you. This is just very niche specific, just for veterans. 3 golden nuggets. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity, because I had a couple of things I wanted to say anyways. Number 1, stop worrying about people's feelings. All right. Be willing to be an open asshole online if that's who you are. Now, don't pretend to be something that you're not, right? Don't go and sit there and curse all the time if you don't really curse in person. Don't pretend to be something you're not. But I mean that on both ways, right? Don't pretend to be some perfect human being. Understand that when you start a business, no matter who you serve, you drop a pin right now and you'll hurt someone's feelings because you hurt the carpet. Like you're going to make people cry. So be okay with that. Be willing to be polarizing. Say what you feel. Say what you think. Make people mad. All right. That's just part of it. You're going to make people mad. So stop trying to not do it. It's going to happen whether you try not to or not. So that's number 1. Be polarizing, because it's an overcrowded market. The entrepreneur space is overcrowded. There's plenty of people. All right. Number 2 is always, always, always grow yourself. Invest in yourself. And I don't mean in my stuff. I just mean wherever is important right now in your business, invest in you. Because the biggest question I get asked all the time, especially in the veteran industry, because you're all cheap bastards sometimes. I'm just playing for those that actually invest in yourselves, but everybody else, yes, you're cheap. And so what I've realized is that everybody's like, well, why would I pay for information where I can go get it from YouTube? Free information is shit. That's why. You are not going to get valuable information for free. Anyone giving you free information is not teaching you something worth charging for, which means you're getting what you're paying for. All right. So that's why I say invest in yourself, invest in coaches, mentors, invest in Chris's program, whatever you need to do right now, invest where it's important to you. Mm-hmm. And number 3, the most important step out of all this, guys, if you follow Chris first before you follow me, right? Find that one mentor that you really focus on, that you really pay attention to, because Chris may say contradicting things from me. And the last thing you want to do is be overwhelmed. And when you're learning from these mentors, when you're paying for these courses, whatever you're buying, most important thing here, don't just learn and not do shit. The one reason that I'm successful when I take online courses, like I bought a webinar training from Russell Brunson, right? And I did a webinar and I made $24,000 on one webinar, right? In an hour and a half, I made $24,000. A bunch of people have taken that training. Why was I the only one, like one of the only ones that actually makes money out of doing it? Because I actually did it. That's the only difference, right? It's implementation is key. And those are my 3 golden nuggets.
That's awesome. That's awesome, brother. Well, hey, man, I just want to thank you for your time. I know we actually went above time, so thank you for that. I know your time is valuable, brother. So I just want to acknowledge you real quick, man. I want to acknowledge you for who you are for the veteran community, man. I mean, to walk away from a 7-figure company that was, was creating great revenue for you, to give all that up to come over and serve the veteran community at big levels and as effective as you've been to speak to veterans. Let's face it, it's not easy to speak to veterans, right? Mm-hmm. There's that ego up and that guard up, and you've been able to do it, man. So for that, I just want to say thank you for who you are, man, and for what we're going to create together moving forward. I just really appreciate you making the time. And yeah, man, just thanks for making the Ambitious Vet Show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. And guys, always remember, business is our new battlefield, so start treating it like one.
All right, Ambitious Vets. I hope you enjoyed episode number 18 with Andrew Brien as much as I did. As always, my biggest takeaway was, how do you be loud out of the uniform when most entitled veterans are quiet? Well, what does quiet look like? Well, it looked like the first 18 months of me being out of the uniform of trying to play small in life. What would that look like? Well, let's increase my disability as much as possible. And how do I just live off the disability because I felt like I really deserved, quote unquote, deserved a break, right? How many of you guys can relate to getting out for 8, 10, 20 years and feeling like you need a break? Who said you need a break? See, this podcast is not for veterans that want to take a break. See, this podcast is for ambitious vets that want to be loud. What does loud look like? It looks being polarizing. Standing for something that you are against in the world. See, you solved a huge problem in the uniform. Now it's time to serve another huge problem out of the uniform that you're not okay with. And one thing that I've learned a hell of a lot from Andrew Brien is, how you become polarizing is your messaging as a personal brand needs to be clearly on what you're not okay with in the world versus what you're okay with. That's how you start creating haters. That's how you start creating people that believe in your message, because you become different. You become loud. So guys, get out there, be loud, be resourceful, find your strengths, find your skill sets, and invest into them. And go and surround yourself with people that can connect you with people that can forward those opportunities, guys. Now, with that being said, go and rate and review this podcast. I always really appreciate that. We want to make sure we're reaching as many veterans as possible. Also, your feedback is valuable. You can email me directly at choffman, that's 2 F's and 2 N's, at vettrainingcoaching.com. Tell me if this podcast sucks. Tell me if it's great. Tell me what you would improve inside this podcast, because you guys are the life and blood of this podcast. We want to make sure we're providing as much value to you as possible. Guys, we already know that you're warrior made, but to become passion driven, you got to get out there and execute just one golden grenade. Let's go get it.